Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about another 3D modeler tool. If you're here for the character or prop 3D modeler tool, you're at the wrong place, but the link for that setup tutorial is also in the description. This one is if you're a environmental artist or modeler. If you're here for that, then you have come to the right place. Just like the other one, this is a good interactive way of showing off your environments. And it's a way that you can, after you build the project, you can have an offline way of showing people your environments. So if you don't have access to the internet, if it goes out for some reason and all of your stuff is online, don't have to worry about it. You can just keep the build of your different environments on a flash drive and just show it to people as you need to. But that being said, just like the other one, if you want to, you can build this for WebGL, and there are ways to embed Unity builds on your website, and then you have an interactive way of showing off your environments on your website. And as the other one, this is also a free download or an optional donation if you wish. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. This one is a little bit more difficult than my proper character model one. If this one, you might need to know a little bit more about Unity to get started. Well, for like the more in-depth parts. But if you just want this ghost camera that Unity kind of already has, if you want this sort of thing, it's perfect for that. I'm not going to maximize and play. So I'll just go ahead and show you what it's kind of like. You have this, just like Unity, you have this ghost camera, and you can fly around the environment and show all the different parts of your environment. You'll actually see in here that I actually have different collision stuff. There's no reason to have that. There's no reason to put collision on the objects because the camera will go right through it anyway. So save yourself some time and don't put any collision or any box colliders or mesh colliders on anything, because that will probably just take up processing time. And just like the other one, you can disable the text, so you don't have to have all that text on your screen as you're flying around. You can go to, if you have a bunch of different models, you can either press P or U to go through the different ones. This one is just the same model, but you know, it is what it is. But I also have another auto mode feature. This is the thing that is a little bit more in depth than my other tool. It's still fairly easy to get acquainted with, but at the same time it takes a little bit more work than the other one. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you're going to set this up. So first of all, we're going to create a new scene, because that's what you're going to do. Again, also like before, whenever you do, or if you do use this, delete the demo scenes, because you don't want to show people this and be like, look what I did. Wouldn't recommend it. So yeah, let's go ahead and make a new scene. I'm going to save as, and save it in my scenes. I'm just going to call this third demo scene. And so right away we have nothing, and just like we come to the world with, too real, sorry. But we're actually going to want to delete the main camera. We're going to want to leave the direction light, but we want to delete this main camera. So what you really have to do for this is just in your assets folder here, you're just going to take your main camera, the one that's here, and drop it. And you have basically almost everything you already need. You're going to import your model and place it into the models folder. I recommend making a folder and of whatever your environmental model is and placing it in that folder. Then you can add the textures. You can create a material and add the textures as you need and put it on your model if they don't come in imported already. Then what I recommend is creating an empty game object. I'm just going to call this environment. I can't spell environment. Still can't spell it. There we go. Easy. I would also recommend zeroing everything, so whenever you click on it, go into the positions make sure that everything is zeroed and that your scale is 1 to 1. You're going to take your model that has all the textures and everything on it, just going to place it on the environment, and there you go. Your environment's there. Again, you can see that this has the colliders. Don't put colliders on it, it's just going to take up more time. The light changed because the lighting isn't baked. Before you actually build the project, I recommend building the lighting for each scene. I'm going to go ahead and turn off auto generate lighting because I don't want that. The other nice thing about this is if you put this in Unity, you can put in other lights in your scene. So maybe I want a nice little spotlight right over here for some reason. Don't know why, I just want it there. And so then when you're looking around the scene, you can actually have that spotlight there. I'm going to delete it though because I don't want it. So for the basics of it, if you just want the free cam and not have to worry about the auto mode, the only thing left you have to change is go into the main camera, expand this, click on the canvas, and make sure your inspector is clicked. And this is the only stuff you're really going to need to change. Again, if these should come already paired with what they need to, but if they don't, if for some reason they're not there, you can just highlight over them and it'll tell you where you need to go to get the thing that belongs here. So what you're going to need to change is the model info. I'm just going to name this because as you can tell I say a lot, and because I'm great at talking. I'm great at talking. And that's what's going to display here. This stuff will always stay the same unless you push disable text, and that'll go away. But if you're here for just the basics of it and you just want a ghost camera to fly around your scene, that's all you really need. You have your ghost camera. It gives you your name, the project name, and a description of it. You can just fly around wherever you want. If you want something that's not the Unity default backdrop here, there's also, I have 3 skyboxes, black skybox, a gray skybox, and a white skybox. To change that, all you need to do is go to the main camera, or no, you just need to go to lighting, and under environment you're going to see skybox material, and I'm going to make this just like the first one, a gray skybox, and there. Skybox is gray and not that weird Unity default. You can make your own skybox and put it here if you want to. That's up to you. If you know Unity enough to do that, go for it. If you don't, there's these 3 basic options. If you want to, if you don't like the way the lighting is, like the way it's casts the shadows here, you can rotate it however you want to. Just gonna leave it like that. Sure. And again, after you do all your lighting things, make sure you bake your lighting to make sure everything looks the way you want it to. But yeah, that's all of the basics. If you want to have that nifty little auto camera, it's going to be a little bit more, but it's worth it. It gives it a nice touch, and it's still fairly simple. So I'm going to go and create another empty game object again, make sure that it's zeroed. And then I'm going to call this host for rotations. Again, I can't type. Now, the main things that you're going to need, well, before I get to that, we're going to create another empty game object, make sure it's zeroed. We're going to say this is on Rails 1. And for this, again, just like the last one, you won't really need to mess with the scripts, or yeah, pretty much the scripts, and leave these 2 things pretty much alone. But the only thing you need to add after you, well, there's a few things you'll have to add, but after you create this empty game object in this one, you're going to add the script auto object, and this is going to be your host for each time you do an on Rails sort of transition. You'll need to change these values. Well, I'll get into that again later. All over the place if you can't tell, but I'm still gonna get you that sweet project that you want. I'm gonna go ahead and create another 2 empty game objects. I'm gonna rename this one start. And we're gonna rename this one end. So these 2 things, the only thing that you need to know about them is their positions. Right now they're at the same spot. That wouldn't be a very interesting transition. So basically what it does is, after you create this empty game object and any other one after this, like if I want to name this one on Rails 2, these are the 2, each thing under host rotations is going to be the on Rails sections. And again, I'm going to need to make sure I add the auto object script. I'll get to creating the points in a second. And as you see, they start by default 0. That's basically how long it takes to complete the movement and how long it will take to complete the rotation. But they are not, let's say you move 5 units for this one. There we go, 5 units. And if you move 10 units, said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right. So say then this one, instead of 5, is 10 units. If you, on here, if you say 5, and if you say on here 5, this one's going to move faster from this point to the other one. It's not directly proportional. But anyway, back to where I was. So I'm going to go back to this weird sort of cube here. You're probably thinking, why is there one side that's untextured? Well, because it's quite helpful actually. So I recommend deleting this after you're done, but it's really annoying to see whenever you're placing empty game objects like this, because you only need the rotation. These points here won't rotate whenever you actually rotate the thing. See, it's still the same even though it's rotated 90 degrees. It's very annoying to try to remember what direction the camera is going to face. This little orientation cube is going to tell you where the camera is going to face. There's an issue though where, you know, if you rotate it upside down, you're not going to be able to tell the difference for that. But it is what it is. So I'm going to put the orientation cube on this one and make sure I have a time for this. Now the so this transition will just move the camera straight forward, and again, won't bother with the collision. It'll go straight through that wall. And when if you click on this, if you click on the cube to move the transform, make sure you actually click on the actual transform, not the cube, and make sure that the cube is zeroed to where you want it, or else it may look like it's going to end here, but it's still going to end there. So make sure it's zeroed. Move the transform, not the cube, where you want it to go, and then rotate it to how you want the rotation to end. I'm just making nice square numbers. You don't have to, but that's just kind of how I am. It will work either way. To make this one 10, this one, did I make that 20? I don't want that. I'll be here forever. Again, I'm just going to throw on these orientation cubes just so I know where everything is. So I want this one to start down here and face up. And this way, the reason the cubes are this size is because if you want kind of like that low to the ground sort of look as you're like zooming across the floor, if the cube starts to go through the floor, the camera's probably going to clip through the floor as well. So make sure the cube is out of the ground, or else the camera might be clipping into the ground. So I want this one up here, and I also want this one to be looking, let's have it look down. It seems like a cool transition. And then I think I am actually missing one more thing. I'm going to check my other scene just to be sure. And yeah, so the last thing you need to do to make sure this works, which I'm glad I remembered, is the auto player itself. You don't need to put anything in it, just to make sure that the host for all the on-rail sections, make sure the auto player is on that script, or else it won't find these. I'm going to leave the orientation cubes here just for the moment, just so you can see what I'm talking about where the camera's facing. Now also at the moment, since I haven't actually built the game with this third scene, if you try to test it in the thing and try to go to different scenes, it won't play since the game hasn't been built with this scene. So at the moment I'm just going to show you those auto transitions I set up. So I'm going to push T to toggle on my cursor and push on auto mode, and we'll enjoy the little show. As you can see, where the camera is, it starts where the cube is facing and goes to that different point. Now, you don't have to be limited to just 2. If you want to make 3, 4, 5 different sections that are connected, you can do that. You can put on as many connections on each rail as you want to, and it will transition to each point individually. If you want to go to a completely different area, that's when you want to do this create empty and then add another rail section. Not on the rail though, on this. But yeah, make sure after you're done to delete these orientation cubes, or else they'll show up in your scene and everyone will be wondering why you have an untextured cube in your scene. Last thing is just save it, and again delete the demo scenes that are here. Make sure you go to File, Build, and add all the scenes, all your environment scenes that you want to, and build it. Otherwise you won't be able to test it with the scene functionality. But yeah, now you have a nice little auto camera in your environment viewer. Once again, link for the download of this is in the description. It's free, or there's an optional donation if you want to support me. But I hope you enjoy this. I hope it's useful for you, and have a wonderful day. Thanks.